Oh, hello. Good morning. How you doing?
Should I say hello to you?
I know. Well, you were ignoring me, so I thought I'd just, say good morning to myself. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay.
How was your weekend?
Okay. It was okay.
Excellent.
Well, I had just one of the 2
days as a weekend,
exactly.
right?
Because you and I were here on Saturday.
We were here on Saturday.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
We love this place a little too much, right? Anyway, we've got all the papers, and today I thought we'd do something different. Start with the Statesman. And the Daily Statesman this morning says NPP moves to disband party militias. This is the banner headline. There's a picture in there of Samia Oku, the National Youth Organizer, who's inspecting the burnt-out offices at Salaga. You remember what happened there, the NPP offices. Right, Samia Oku engages invincible forces. That's what the story says. Don't run down Ghana for petty personal gain, Akufo-Addo cautions politicians. He was speaking at the Adisco speech and prize giving day. Congratulations to our brothers from Adisco on another year. IWD 2019, let's help other women to succeed. International Women's Day was marked by the First Lady with a special event at Mövenpick Ambassador Hotel. That's where she said that. We've got some stories on the back page of the Statesman. CAF Confed Cup, Yakuba's late goal steals a point for Kotoko against Al Hilal. Kotoko doing very well in the Confederation Cup. Arsenal move above Man United as Solskjaer suffers first league defeat. Mama B, is that happiness or sadness?
Well, a lot of sadness, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It just wasn't the Man United we recognized.
I think we didn't play well.
Yeah, Lukaku was it seemed to be the only person on your team in that game.
We didn't play well.
More about that later.
Yeah. Let's quickly switch and do the Independent newspaper. Front page of the Independent, ask politicians to use their own children for violence. Baumia to youth. Yeah. It's like, ask them to use their own children. Can we tell them that? Also on the front page, punish that check givers to keep investors' confidence. The 2 major headlines on the front page of the Independent this morning. That will be it for the paper.
Now, do you remember I told you that the Independent loves Dr. Baumia?
Yeah.
Evidence, Exhibit 1, Your Honor. All right, now the publisher has this banner headline, Armed Forces Clears Air. And First Lady calls for a balanced world. That was at the same International Women's Day event. By the way, the armed forces apparently are clearing the air over the DI group militia. We'll talk a bit about that later. Ethiopian Airlines with 157 passengers crashes. That story just, breaks everybody's heart across the world. We've not opened branch in a container. Santua Rural Bank is making that fact clear. And don't run down don't run down Ghana. That's according to Nana Addo. Right, what have we got next?
Let's go to the Daily Graphic newspaper and let's look at what's on the front page of the paper this morning. I see Kojo Yanka. I wasn't going to say Kojo Yanka. No,
yes,
I was saying Kojo Yanka. Presidents of AUCC, my president. Okay, so presidents and presidents, but the chief president is also on the front page of the paper. He didn't go to Adisco, President Akufo-Addo.
No.
Story says, point out mistakes, but don't run down nation. President charges Ghanaians. And a bit about what's in the picture there. President Akufo-Addo being presented with a shield and a citation by Mr. Kojo Yanka, president of the Adisado College Old Boys Association, during the speech and prize giving day. 109th they are. So yeah, you said it. Congratulations to them. But they're your rivals. I didn't expect congratulations to them.
No, at Disco, we are sort of brothers from afar. We have a lot in common, Ogasco and Adisco.
Really?
And the way our rivalry is far more friendly than the rivalry between Ogasco and Kwabuchi.
Oh, okay.
Or even Adisco and Kwabuchi.
Okay.
Nobody likes Kwabuchi. Let's just put it that way.
Nobody does?
No.
I do.
Yeah, well, nobody's perfect, Mama B. I know that's a problem you're working on.
Regional administration starts work March ending is also another headline, front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Forgiven Rollins, that's chairman of Dar es Salaam Group, you know, he had the group had its entire hotel demolished. There's a history to this. Full story is on page 74. We're anxious about our children. Families of kidnapped ladies declare. We are all very anxious, and you know, we here at Joy News, we put up this strong campaign to get the authorities to bring back these girls who've been gone, one for more than 200 days now. Let's check out what's on the back page of the Daily Graphic real quick. On the back page of the paper is some sports. Women's football resumes on good notes, they say. Al Hilal, is it Scupper?
Scupper.
What does that mean?
Scupper means destroy.
Oh, okay. So they've scattered them. Scattered Kotoko's chance. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So really, basically, that's what's on the back page of the paper. In the center spread, you might want to check it out. Rebuilding confidence in the banking sector and spreading entrepreneurial training across the disciplines in our universities. Professor Atu Isuman speaks at the Baraka Policy Institute. You can check it out in the center spread of the paper. Kujo?
Right, and look at us. We're on the front page of the Daily Dispatch. Banner headline, Joy News speaks, NPP government answers. I think if there was more room, they would have added Joy News continues to speak. But the Daily Dispatch, the Daily Dispatch has that banner headline. Also, Ghanaians are not safe, minority tell Akufo-Addo. An NPA undertake cylinder, I don't know what MOD over there is, cylinder model sensitization. And focus on Nkrumah, Dankwa and Buzia. That's also an editorial piece inside the Daily Dispatch. On the back page, more details about the Joy News revelation. And then government responds to Joy News' documentary, Militia in the Heart of the Nation. Soldiers clear out DI group over Joy News expose is also on the back page of the Daily Dispatch.
All right, let's do the Daily Guide newspaper now. On the front page, NPP will kill Manasseh, says Mugabe. Okay. 3 German firms setting up factories in Ghana. No soldiers deployed for militia at Castle. Don't destroy Ghana's image, Akufo-Addo warns. Yasantua Rural Bank rejects false reports. And Aka Energy hits new oil. So the picture, the banner headline, the picture is President Akufo-Addo inspecting the Guard of Honor mounted by the Adisado College Cadet Corps. So details of this, let's see the back page of the paper. Al Hilal frustrates Kotoko in Kumasi. Clote quits boxing. Magdan boxing rocks Tamale. And I'll slap you, Evra cautions critic.
Oh boy. Oh dear. Evra is not a happy bunny, is he? Right, what else have we got?
Yeah, we're going to do the Finder
newspaper. It is false. Government debunks schools privatization claim. Don't run down Ghana to realize narrow partisan interests. That's the president. No soldier deployed to evict DI from Castle, from Usu Castle, armed forces, and cylinder recirculation model to create 4,500 jobs. And yeah, there we go. So that's the Finder front page. And on the back, I believe, is, oh, no, nothing today. Ghanaian Times is our last one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Front page of the paper. Magdan hands over newly built school block, launches endowment fund. And Daniel Macaulay is on the front page of the paper. Let's uphold values of patriotism, according to President Akufo-Addo. No privatization of public schools. Government refutes allegation by NEC. President mourns Ethiopia plane crash victims. We will talk a bit more on this later on the AM show. Back page, Tanko invites 3 for Meteor's Camp. Al Hilal hold Kotoko. So I've seen hold for Straits and Scapa. Yeah. Adaboya Dam undergoing rehabilitation is also another headline on the back page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. So now you know what's making headlines. Let's see if we can do a few picks of the stories.
Indeed. Now, the story that seems to be on the most front pages is the president's speech at Adisco. But just before we touch on that, I just wanted to mention very quickly Mr. Daniel Macaulay's work in the northern part of the country where, according to the Ghanaian Times, he has just handed over a classroom block. Now, if you follow the news, another station reported about the school under a tree in that particular village, where the kids had to clear the sand and then write in it with a rock. That was how the kids were getting their education, learning their alphabet and so forth. And Mr. Macaulay's work, it reminds me of the fact that the government is still struggling to provide schools for all of our children. They are focusing very hard on making it free to go to school, but the provision of schools itself is not something that we see them boast too much about progress in. And we understand the problems. Money is a big issue, and when people like Mr. Macaulay step in and provide facilities from their own personal funds, it goes to remind you that perhaps the education sector is getting a lot more attention in one aspect of it than others. And we're spending a lot of money making it free for kids to go to senior high school. But who is going to turn up on day one for free at a senior high school? It's a kid who had to study under a tree to get there. So what is the quality of that free education that we're giving? How well can this person benefit now that you've given him or her access to it? And that's one of the things that I'm hoping we'll think about. Congratulations to Mr. Macaulay and the Magdan Group for doing such a good job. But Mawaveli, let's talk about the president. He says, don't paint the country black for your narrow political interest. So who is he talking to? Is it you and I?
All of
or
us,
is it his political opponents?
I think everybody. Every
narrow
Ghanaian.
Political interests? Really, everybody?
What's your point?
Do we all have narrow political interests? Is that how the president sees everybody? I hope not, because if our political interests if everybody's political interests are narrow, then how will any one party ever win an election? How will his party win an election if there aren't people who are open-minded in this country? So
I'm not sure. I mean, that's an open advice, isn't it?
Oh yes.
So who the cup fits?
Yeah, but it seems a very closed advice to me, narrow advice, if you will. It appears that he's narrowly politically interested in his opponents when he says this, when he makes this call. So I guess he's communicating with the NDC, telling them not to paint the country black for their own interests, right? Okay, but then he also says in another of the headlines we talked about, he says that we should by all means criticize Ghana, but just don't make Ghana look bad. Point out mistakes
but don't
run down the nation. So this is advice that I guess I can take as well, isn't it? I mean, I don't have to be.
Yeah, I mean, but are you just picking it from the various headlines? Because I can imagine that is the same speech, but the various newspapers have just
so
coined
he must have said a number
differently.
of different things, right? He must have said a number of different things in this speech, and each paper has taken perhaps one angle of it or the other. So we can discuss it all as a whole because it was in the same speech. So he also says, point out mistakes, but just don't paint the country black, which I think is good advice. I can take that advice. The media can take it, the whole country can take it. But again, how about the government? What advice should they be taking? When we point out these mistakes, what do they do with it? We've heard the president describe people as professional naysayers. He was speaking to academics, people who know more about the subject than he does. He was calling them professional naysayers. So how does the government take advice? When we point out these mistakes, what does the government do with it? Do they accept it? Do they, follow it? Do they even engage productively with those who point out these mistakes? Do they accept that they are mistakes at all? Because if not, then it's a wasted exercise. Then nobody should talk to them. They should just leave them to do what they like. We should decide that we are now a dictatorship and just let them do what they want. Because when we point out mistakes, their acceptance of feedback has not been great. It has not. So maybe someone should advise them too, right?
Absolutely. Coming up, we will do myjoyonline.com, but I thought that this story is about one of our own. Why don't we just quickly touch on it? It's in the Daily Guide newspaper. NPP will kill Manasseh, says Mugabe. That story is on page 6, and it has to do with his recent work. So I'm just going to skip the beginning of that story and just go to the point where they say Salifu Mase, aka Mugabe, said the NPP would kill him just like Ahmed Swale, the private investigator of A's journalist Anas Aremea Anas, who was gruesomely killed recently by some assailants. Mugabe claimed he had been possessed by the Holy Spirit. So here's a quote attributed to him. The fake ones can come out and say whatever they like, but I'm speaking in the spiritual realm. Manasseh Awene, I'm speaking to your parents, and I'm not speaking as Mugabe, but the Holy Spirit is using me, he claimed. Mugabe is an activist of the NDC. And then you can go on to read some of the things that he had to say in the paper on page 6. I don't know what to make of this, you know, but Manasseh is a journalist. He's an investigator, and this is his latest piece. This is not the first time that he's done something like this. And
it's not the first time somebody has suggested a threat on his life
exactly.
Either. But unfortunately, this time around, it's Mugabe Mase, you know, Salifu Mase, who's making the claim. So yes, he says he's not speaking as
in the spiritual realm.
He's speaking as. How do I discuss the Holy, whether something that is attributed to the Holy Spirit? How can I discuss the Holy Spirit as a source?
I would just take, like we're all cautious, just on the surface, not read too much into it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we are generally cautious in the execution of our job, but we don't allow caution to prevent us from doing our job.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I don't understand how, I mean, this is somebody who's in the media, he's a broadcaster. Now, he's quoting the Holy Spirit as his source. I don't really know how I'm supposed to discuss that. I mean, it's not a verifiable source, is it? I don't know how to verify what he's saying.
Let's do myjoyonline.com.
So what can I do?
MyJoyOnline on our page, Kojo, myjoyonline.com.
Yeah. Take double out of national security. That's what Martin Kwebu said over the weekend. We'll be bringing some details of what was said on Newsfile later on the show. Submitting at home when you are on top at work. 4 wives show the way. That's a story from this weekend's edition of Home Affairs. Fascinating stuff. I listened to it. And I really got to appreciate the points of view of these women who were guests. Ghana needs joblantes, not vigilantes. That's according to the Vice President, or as some may have called him in the past, the Dollar-lanti. All right, DI Group, conflicting responses from Presidency and National Security and the Info Ministry. Yes, a Snobian in a script. Those responsible for Castle Lawn must answer for, well, I don't know how I'm supposed to finish that particular headline. Yes, those responsible for Castle Lawn must answer for allowing DI Group there. And that's according to Brian Achampong, who is the Minister Minister of State at the Presidency, responsible for national security.
Well, on this subject, on the AM show today, Roland Walker off to speak to Adam Bona. We'll bring you the perspectives shared on Newsfile as well. Great perspectives.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. But Brian Achampong there adding his submission to the almost pack of Facebook cards of different positions that we are getting from the government.
Yeah. And Asankoma, I like this, what he says is also captured on myjoyonline.com. Lock up Akufo-Addo, former president, until they solve militia issue. Asankoma making that call. Of course, when he says lock up, it's in context.
Of course, yes. Yeah. And I guess the real point he's making there is that we can't just say 2 political parties should sit down and solve it. They are not the only stakeholders here. And most importantly, the people who these groups believe they are acting in the name of are the leaders of these political parties. And so the former presidents really have a role to play here. They've all been the faces of these parties in the past. And so the expectation is that if you want these individuals to have voices that they will listen to, credible voices, then we have to have these people there too. But not just them, other stakeholders, the police, security forces, Peace Council and organizations of that like, even some civil society organizations, the media. You have to have every single stakeholder at the table if you're trying to solve a national problem. You don't take two parties and expect them to solve it. And so they were expressing a bit of surprise at the president's reaction to the letter from the head of the NDC, the chairman of the NDC. So.
So more of the I Group and Manasseh's documentary on the AM show this morning. We'll also tell you what the commission is up to after the public hearing, what's up next for the Commission of Inquiry looking into the violence that characterized the recent by-elections at Ayawaso West Walk-On. All of that on the AM show this morning. But we have to make way for sports, right, Kojo?
Absolutely. And Benedict and the team have all the headlines, including that heartbreaking one.
I knew you'd say that.
I can imagine your pain. You and Solskjaer probably don't have a single tear left in your ducts.
This is his first loss, actually.
Pardon?
This is his first loss.
It is. It is. He's done wonderfully since he took over as caretaker manager. But yesterday was not his day. It was not his day. It wasn't anybody's day.
Okay, so let me put it in proper context. This is the first loss in the English Premier League.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's true. Solskjaer doing a good job.
So yesterday, before the game, the pre-match discussions, there was a bit where he watched, so, you know, like a reporter visited him, they watched a tape of him playing Arsenal, I think a game that Manchester United lost. Okay. So this was before the game itself. Right. And I don't know, was it because I watched that somehow?
You got into the expectation of loss.
I wasn't, even though I was, well, I wasn't so hurt, like I was disappointed, but it wasn't so much because I know that he himself as a player had lost a very important game against Arsenal in the past. Yeah. Arsenal
were on fine form. Let's give them their due. But honestly, Pogba, how much did you pay for him again?
Please, give us a break.
It's like you have to kind of get your money's worth in one game because you don't know what he'll do in the next one, right?
Well, it's like that.
Consistency is not his hallmark.
It's like that. It's like that for everyone, I think.
I guess.
Yeah. Listen, Arsenal playing so well against Manchester United. Let them meet the teams that you think they should beat, and you see they will be suffering.
But what's that got to do with you? They beat you.
Everything.
Yeah. All right, time for sports. Benedict,
we're not bringing you a preview of the Manchester United Arsenal game. Forget it.
We absolutely are. Stay there. It's coming up next.